Yacht Shaskakar 64. There's a lot in this lesson, but it all has to do with emphasis. In English, we emphasize things very often by saying them louder. In Irish, that's not necessarily the case. Usually, you emphasize it by either adding a little particle to the end or putting it at the beginning of a sentence. And we're going to see both of those things in this chapter. Now, a lot of these things you've heard, I'm sure, already and used already. So it's just putting them into a formal lesson here. So you know is misha, Seamus is me. So misha being the emphatic pronoun. There's a list of them in this chapter. Misha, tusa, sheshin or eshin, shisha or isha, and those depend on whether it's the subject or the object of the sentence. In other words, like she or she, or or a or e. So you use them in the right places. They're the same. Shinya, shivsha, and shiidson, or iidson if it's not the subject. So those endings on those are actually the endings that you can tack on to prepositional pronouns or nouns or even verbs. So they give you the example agam. So agamsa, agamsa. You add the sa at the end, like in misha. Now, of course, it's either an SA or an SE, depending on whether it's a broad or slender consonant. So in whim, it becomes whimsha with an SE. Same thing with all of them. They either have an A or an E, depending on whether it's broad or slender. So agatsa or witsha, egishin, that's a little different. Wigshin, that's always no, that's the same thing. Ekisha, uhisha, agunya, that's an NE ending. Wunya, agivsha, wivsha, akasan, uhasan. So it's the sa or sh ending for the singular, first person and second person, and I guess the feminine one, but eshin, shen for the third person masculine, ne for the we form, se, sh for the use form, and son for the they form. And then you can stick these on anything, really. They say on Shesha Mahyachsa, it's my house. So you stick it on the noun there. Tom Shasasta, I am satisfied. Karyenasa, again, sticking it on the verb here. What would you do? And so on. If you know the Our Father, it's Mara Wahamijna Dar Vekunafen. Wahamijna, forgiven to us. Or I'm sorry, as we forgive, the emphatic form there. So those are how to use those emphatic endings. They also talk about the pronouns. Now we saw the list of them, and the difference between a and eshin is the emphatic, but she and sheshin, those are when it's the subject. So it's just like a and she, a and eshin when it's not the subject. Same thing for all of them. E isha, id, idson, and so on. Now, then there's a third page to this lesson, so there's a lot to it. Now they're talking about the concept of fronting things in a sentence, bringing them to the front of the sentence for emphasis. And when you do that, you get to use that relative form of the verb. So that's why you learn that, one of those reasons anyway. So you can put anything at the front of the sentence if you restructure it a bit. But it is for emphasis. And you may have to introduce the copula to really make it grammatically, correct. So they give you the example, She Sean ahui gakorki. So hui Sean gakorki is the normal sentence. She Sean ahui gakorki, or Sean ahui gakorki. You're bringing Sean to the front of the sentence, so now it's Sean who went. And that's gakorki sha ahui Sean. Again, you don't have to put that copula in there, but technically it's implied. So, gekorki ahui Sean. So you bring that up to the front and use the relative form of the verb. Inye isha, or inye ahui Sean gekorki. It was yesterday that Sean went to Cork. Erahar isha ahui Sean gekorki. On his bicycle, it is that Sean went to Cork. Again, bringing it to the front. Copula generally is used in this kind of a sentence, but it can be left out and implied in the sentence. And always the relative form of the verb. If it was normally at the front, you have to now put it in the relative form. So that's what you're practicing, and they give you a whole bunch of examples. This also happens in questions, same kind of thing. An Sean ahui gekorki, is it Sean that went to Cork? An gekorki ahui Sean, is it to Cork that Sean went? Again, it depends on what you want to emphasize in the sentence. So, practice, practice, practice. Memorize those those pronoun forms and those endings, which are the same as the endings of the pronoun forms, and then practice moving things around in a sentence. And there you go.